Cedar Point, located in Sandusky, Ohio, has one of the greatest, if not the greatest collection of roller coasters of any park on the planet. With 18 total roller coasters, and most of them being absolutely fantastic, it's no wonder that roller coaster enthusiasts from all over the world try to make it out to Cedar Point at least once in their life. Today, I'm going to be ranking the top 15 major roller coasters at Cedar Point. Before we get into this ranking, I just wanted to say that this is all my personal opinion, and I guarantee you that I'm going to have some opinions in this video that you may not agree with. And that's totally okay. That's the wonderful thing about being in the roller coaster community. Everybody does have different opinions. So be sure to let me know in the comments below how you rank these roller coasters, and if you agree with me, or if you disagree with me. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're into roller coaster content. With that out of the way, here are the top 15 roller coasters at Cedar Point. Let's start off by talking about the roller coasters that didn't quite make the cut. Like I said, there are 18 roller coasters. Two of the ones that didn't make the cut are kids coasters, Wilderness Run and Woodstock Express. Wilderness Run is actually the first Intamin roller coaster ever built, and you do need a child to ride this roller coaster, so I couldn't in good faith rank this. Woodstock Express is just your typical junior coaster, so I also couldn't really find anywhere to put it in the top 15. And Cedar Creek Mine Ride is an aero mine train that, well, yes, it does have some charm, doesn't really do anything for me, and in my opinion is the most boring roller coaster at Cedar Point. I would personally rather ride Woodstock Express than Cedar Creek Mine Ride, but that's just me, so I'm not going to rank those three. So let's get into the official top 15. Number 15, Corkscrew, an aerodynamics looping coaster. Corkscrew, while very pretty to look at, definitely isn't the smoothest ride. However, on my last visit, it actually was running pretty good. You get a good pop of airtime on that first hill, and the first vertical loop is actually pretty forceful. However, the two corkscrews, which, the ride gets its name from, really aren't that great to me. I'm not the biggest fan of hang time. I do appreciate it. You do get some decent hang time on the corkscrews, but I'm personally not the biggest fan. And when that's the standout signature element on the ride, I can't really put it any higher than number 15. It does look really pretty on the midway though. Number 14, Blue Streak. This is a PTC wooden roller coaster, and I know a lot of you guys are going to rip me to shreds. Tyler, Blue Streak is awesome. It has so much airtime. What are you talking about? I rode Blue Streak 2 times on my last visit, once in the front and once in the back, and I do definitely prefer it in the front because it's a smoother ride, and while yes, there is a little bit of airtime, it isn't really like amazing airtime. The PTC trains are also really uncomfortable, and when you're as tall as I am, they're definitely not a super great ride experience. I also found the ride to be unbearably rough, and I'm totally cool with roughness. Like I said, I found Corkscrew to actually be pretty smooth. But something about Blue Streak, just every time I got off it, I was in a bad mood. And really, no other roller coaster at Cedar Point put me in a bad mood. The reason I put it above Corkscrew is because, yes, it does have airtime, and I do like airtime. If you want a bit of a smoother ride, sit in the front, and I definitely understand the appeal of Blue Streak, so if you do put this higher, I definitely get it, but I personally can't put it any higher than number 14. Number 13 is Wild Mouse, a Zamperla spinning Wild Mouse. This is one of the new roller coaster credits that I got while at Cedar Point, and I actually really like this ride. I only got to ride it once, the line does get really long throughout the day, so Jake and I actually rope dropped this on one of our days, and we got the cheese car, which is absolutely awesome. One of the things about Wild Mouse that definitely caught me off guard is you actually bring everything with you, and you do that for Iron Dragon as well, but that's a lot more of a graceful ride. Wild Mouse actually has some pretty crazy spinning and some really good vertical G-forces. The only reason I don't put it any higher is because the other rides at Cedar Point are just that good, but this is a really fun family coaster. I don't know if it's the best fit for the park, but I do really enjoy Wild Mouse. At number 12 is Iron Dragon, an aerodynamic suspended coaster. I personally think that Iron Dragon gets a lot of hate and is definitely overlooked along Cedar Point's lineup. Is it the best suspended coaster? Definitely not, but it's still a lot of fun. The first half is very scenic as you go through the woods. Dodging past trees as the cars are swinging is definitely a good time, very reminiscent of Ninja at Six Flags Magic Mountain. The second half after the second lift actually has quite a bit of bite to it that caught me off guard. There's this one turn as you dive towards the lake below where you swing out pretty far, and I was not expecting that. Overall, Iron Dragon is a really fun family coaster, and it comes in at number 12. At number 11, I'm putting Rougarou, the B&M floorless coaster. Now, before my most recent trip to Cedar Point, if you asked me where I put Rougarou along the park's B&Ms, it was actually my favorite. I don't know what I was thinking, but after re-riding Rougarou, it's definitely the worst of the 4 B&Ms in the park. Don't get me wrong, it's still a really fun roller coaster. I definitely like a good floorless coaster, even if this one's layout isn't particularly interesting. It offers a smooth ride experience, it has a great location along the water. I also like how the queue of Rougarou is basically floating. I think that that's really funny. It's just your pretty run-of-the-mill B&M looping coaster. At number 10 is Valravn, a B&M dive coaster. Valravn was my 3rd dive coaster, and I finally got to ride this thing. On my first trip, Valravn was actually closed my entire visit. I absolutely love SheiKra. SheiKra is my favorite B&M dive coaster. I know a lot of people are saying that the smaller scale ones like Emperor are better, but I personally prefer SheiKra to Emperor, so I was expecting to really like Valravn. I gotta say, Valravn just didn't do it for me. The layout's fine, it actually has some decent force, but just something about the ride felt kinda off. I don't know if it was the vest restraints or not, because they don't really bother me on Emperor at all, but for some reason Valravn just didn't really do it for me, and that's why it's my least favorite dive coaster. However, it's still an absolute beast, and the drop is still pretty good. I do actually like that it has 2 drops. I know a lot of people don't like the mid-course brake run, but I kinda like how it splits it up into 2 halves. While not the best dive coaster, it's still good enough to make it into the top 10 at Cedar Point, which means it is a really good ride. At number 9, we have another B&M looping coaster. This is Raptor, the B&M invert. I rode Raptor 2 times on my last trip, and after the first ride, I actually probably would have put this down below Rougarou. However, thank goodness I went back for a second ride, because I ended up really liking it the second time around. This is not the smoothest ride. This thing will definitely play pinball with your head, especially if you sit towards the back or sit on an outside seat. The layout is still really good, and it provides a lot of really intense positive G-forces. My second ride was in the front, so I highly recommend you try this in the front row if you can. However, I still gotta say, I think Raptor is a genuinely overrated B&M invert. I'm about to say something that's going to upset a lot of you guys. I don't know if it's just like nostalgia or home park bias, but I personally put Silver Bullet above Raptor. Bruh. I know, that's absolutely insane to say. Rip me up in the comments all you want. Raptor is still a really good ride, but it's definitely showing its age. At number 8, we have yet another B&M looper. Don't worry guys, this is the last one. It's Gatekeeper, a B&M wing coaster. Gatekeeper actually kind of blew me away. This is a really, really strong roller coaster. The ride's full of really good positive G-forces. That wing over drop is insanely fun, and going through those keyholes is an absolute blast. The ride is also genuinely graceful as it glides along the beach and over the entrance, and it's overall just a really fun and re-rideable coaster. I always found myself wanting to go back to Gatekeeper and just lap it over and over. This is a really fun ride, and so far it's the only wing coaster I've gotten to do, so of course it's my favorite, it's the only one. But I highly recommend you guys check out Gatekeeper, do not sleep on this ride. At number 7, we have a bit of an underdog, Gemini, an aerodynamics, I don't even know what model this is. I'm just going to call it a Mega Mine Train, because that's basically what it is. Gemini is an absolute blast. It has 2 sides, red and blue, that are pretty much identical to each other. However, depending on how you count credits, they are 2 separate tracks, meaning they are considered 2 separate roller coaster credits. Both of them ride pretty much the same. They're actually really smooth for their age. They provide a lot of really strong ejector airtime, especially towards the back of the train, and you get to race the other train. The cars actually get so close together that you can actually reach out and high-five the other train. It's an absolutely amazing ride. Do not sleep on Gemini. I really hope Cedar Point does not remove this ride. I know a lot of people are thinking that Gemini is the next to go, and unfortunately I can see it, but I really hope that that isn't the case because this ride is so good. At number 6, we have Cedar Point's newest roller coaster, Siren's Curse, a Vekoma tilt coaster. Now look, I went into this ride with extremely high expectations, and I came off with them pretty much being met. However, there was a couple criticisms I have towards the ride. The first one is the restraints. I'm not a big fan of vest restraints, and this ride unfortunately does have them. I think that without the vest restraints, this ride would be even better. The second criticism I have with Siren's Curse is it really isn't all that intense. It actually doesn't have a crazy amount of forces. Looking at the layout and how tight the maneuvers are, you would think that there's actually quite a bit of positive G-forces, but there really isn't all that much. The ride isn't forceless by any means, it's still a great thrill ride, however, it's definitely not as forceful as you would expect going into it. That being said, this ride is still an absolute blast from start to finish. I have a full review on Siren's Curse on my channel, along with Jake and I's first reaction from the preview day before the ride even opened. So be sure to check those out if you guys want more information on Siren's Curse. But yeah, this ride is still a really good time, and it's the smoothest roller coaster I've ever been on. Anyone of all ages could enjoy Siren's Curse. At number 5, we have one of the most iconic roller coasters in the world, Millennium Force, the Intamin Giga Coaster. On my last visit to Cedar Point, I'm going to be totally honest, I was relatively disappointed with Millennium Force. It just wasn't running as incredible as it was the first time I got to experience it. It's still an absolutely amazing ride though from start to finish. That first drop is very good. It has a couple moments of good floater airtime, specifically the second floater camelback going into the tunnel where the photo was taken has some amazing floater airtime, and the ride is full of positive G-forces. That being said, this thing definitely has a rattle. If you've ridden Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm, it's the same kind of rattle as that. However, because this ride is just so much longer, it definitely gets to me more. That being said, I'm not a Millennium Force hater. I absolutely love this roller coaster to bits, and that's why it's at number 5. I could not put it any lower than number 5 in the park. However, a roller coaster that keeps climbing my ranks every single time I ride it is number 4, Magnum XL 200, an aerodynamics hypercoaster. The roller coaster that started the Coaster Wars is absolutely incredible. Now, I understand why some people hate it. This is one of the most, if not the most divisive and polarizing roller coaster on the planet. This thing will try to kill you. It is actually insane. The first half, a lot of people say, doesn't really do all that much, but I love how strange it is. The profiling is so bizarre, and if you sit in the front of the train, you actually get some good floater airtime going into the big camelback. The speed hill after that camelback, no matter where you sit, actually has some really strong ejector, and the turnaround is just plain stupid, and I love it. I love how dumb this ride is. It is just so hilarious. And of course, the triangle ejector death hills are absolutely unbelievably insane. Most people will tell you to ride in the quote-unquote magic seat, which is row number 3. However, I disagree. I prefer the second to back row. That is my personal pick for the best row on this ride, because it's not a wheel seat. You actually get a pretty smooth ride, and the airtime is still absolutely fantastic. I love Magnum XL 200. I cannot get enough of it, but I do understand why some people just don't really like it that much. At number 3, we have the Intamin masterpiece, Maverick, the Intamin Blitz coaster. This thing is so good. We have now entered the rides that I consider absolutely elite. You must ride these at some point in your life. These are the best of the best. Maverick is full of such snappy elements. The switchbacks and the airtime hills and the launch, that second launch that goes under the station, the Stangle dives. Oh my gosh, this ride is absolutely fantastic. This is the ride that Jake and I rode the most over our time at Cedar Point, because the Fastlane Plus line really wasn't that bad. We would just go on this over and over and over, and then we would take a break and get water, and then ride it again, and then we'd ride Steel Vengeance, and then we would always find ourselves coming back to Maverick. This ride is an absolute blast from start to finish. You absolutely need to get out to Cedar Point and ride this thing. At number 2, here we go. Alright, here's where things are going to start to get controversial, I think. At number 2 is Steel Vengeance, the RMC Hyper Hybrid Coaster. If you've watched my review on Steel Vengeance, which is the video that came out before this one, you would know that I think this is an absolutely perfect coaster. I gave it a 10 out of 10. And the fact that it's at number 2 is just absolutely insane. That just shows how insane the coaster lineup at Cedar Point is. I believe this ride still holds the record for the most airtime of any coaster in the world, with over 30 seconds. That is unbelievable, and the ride's outer bank is just so crazy. Combine that with the atmosphere of the ride in the Frontier Town area, it's such a spectacle. This ride is so good. I totally understand if this is your favorite in the park. I totally understand if this is your number 1 ever. Even if you've ridden 1,000 coasters, I get it if this is your number 1 coaster. It's just that good. But to me, it's not the best ride in the park. Number 1 is Top Thrill 2. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is Top Thrill 2 my number one? Let me explain. In 2022, I went to Carowinds for the first time, just kind of out of nowhere. I woke up one morning, I'm like, you know what, I have a couple days off, I want to go to Carowinds. And I rode Fury 325 in the back row, and going down that drop, I got this feeling that I cannot describe. I don't know what it was. It just felt like I was in a dream, going through clouds, and it's so strange. And I haven't been able to replicate that feeling on any other roller coaster until Top Thrill 2. In the back row, dropping off the top hat, spiraling down over 420 feet in the air, over 100 miles per hour, out of your seat the entire time with nothing but a lap bar, just floater airtime all the way down to the bottom, left me speechless. That element blew my mind. The rest of the ride is just, it's great. Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. Even that first launch isn't even as bad as people say. That backward spike is absolutely incredible. It's basically just Superman Escape from Krypton, but better. And then you have the most bonkers, out of control element I've ever experienced, just as the cherry on top. Combine that with the atmosphere of this ride, the theme of racing, and the remix Ready to Go by Republica. It's so good. As you're taking off, the bass just drops and you just launch forward. It is so much fun. Like I said, I get it if Steel Vengeance is your number one, even Maverick, but Top Thrill 2, guys, I never got the chance to ride the original Dragster. I can't even imagine how that ride must have been. That would probably be my number one as well. But Top Thrill 2 is not only my number one in the park, but it has surpassed Fury as my number one that I've ever been on. Again, I know that's a hot take. Debate me in the comments. I love this ride to bits. I got off that ride and my jaw was on the floor for the next 10 minutes. I had to go back to the hotel and just take a breather. But that's how I rank the top 15 roller coasters at Cedar Point. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree? Probably not. How do you guys rank them? Let me know. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, send it to a friend, you know, all that stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one.